Hey there everybody, this is TwoHeadedFlounder. Welcome back to some more TCGO. Today we're actually doing something very exciting and new on this channel. This is going to be a new series that I'm starting up where we make budget-friendly decks. So I've gone ahead and created a few IRL versions of decks, and I total up the total that I would have to spend to create these decks using reasonable, fair prices. And I am making decks under $30 for new beginning players to get into. So if you're an experienced player, you probably don't really need to see this, and you probably have all the cards already. But if you're trying to get a friend into the game and they're really iffy because they're not having fun playing maybe one of their pre-made structure decks that they bought, which they maybe threw in a couple of GXs into or something along those lines, this might be a good option for them. So if you can purchase this entire deck right in front of you right now for a fair price, it should come out to $16.99, just under $17, and that is actually really good pricing. If we take a look at official Pokemon products and how much they cost, if you go to a retail store and you get a structure deck, a pre-made structure deck, right now I believe it's Blastoise and Charizard, it'll cost you about $12.99. And to reuse the example of Blastoise and Charizard, yeah, you get some playable cards in there. You get a couple Cynthia and you get a couple Charizard or Blastoise, depending on which one you buy. But other than that, the decks are usually really clunky and very bad. There's not a lot of consistency in them. And that's my favorite word for this series, consistency. Because if we take a look at all the cards in this, if you know what these cards do, this could be possibly one of the more consistent decks that you can create for very cheap. So the wonderful thing about the expanded format is once something leaves the standard format, they usually drop in price. So we have a lot of very inexpensive cards to work with here that are also extremely good. I also want to take note that a lot of Pokemon products, other than structure decks, can cost you quite a bit of money for a single promo card that you want and 3 packs, or a tin in a box that comes with the promo cards and some packs. Yes, you get the promo card that you want, and you'll probably be trying to put that into your deck. However, the rest of it is just random. And even if you do get something, you don't necessarily know if it's going to be playable in your deck. You could be very lucky with a Venusaur, Celebi Tag Team Tin, and get a Pikachu Zekrom. However, those two don't go well together. And there's no structure there. So that is where these decks are going to really shine. So enough of the introduction. We're going to be taking a look at the deck now. And this is a fun deck that I had originally played when I was first getting into the game. This is Butterfree Miltank. So Miltank is a pretty high HP Pokemon for a basic. Powerful Friends does 10 plus, 70 more damage if you have a Stage 2 Pokemon on your bench. And for 1 energy and a Muscle Band, that is 100 damage for 1 energy. And at the time that this card came out, that was extremely good. Stage 2 decks were on the decline because of EX and basic Pokemon, but if you had a good combination with Miltank, you could actually do well. And there was a really cool Greninja deck around the time. However, one of the earliest just kind of deck ideas for it was with this Butterfree. Adapted Evolution. This Pokemon can evolve during your first turn you play it. Okay. Metapod. Adapted Evolution. This Pokemon can evolve during your first turn that you play it. And then we have Butterfree. Now this isn't the original Butterfree that came out, and there is something worth to note about the old Butterfree. It's weak to Lightning, and it resists fighting. Our deck is actually pretty weak to fighting, which is kind of funny. But yeah, it's worth noting for the fighting resistance. However, this one is pretty outdated. Though it has 130 HP, it does do 70 damage, which is okay. This is a newer one, which I definitely would not recommend. It has 120 HP, which means it's much more easily knocked out. And Stun Spore does 10 less damage than the old Butterfree, but it does have a chance for paralysis. But I really like this Butterfree right here. Psybolt for 1 will do 30. Flip a coin. If heads, your opponent's active is now paralyzed, which is definitely a very good attack to have for 1 energy. And Whirlwind, it does 80 damage, and your opponent switches their active with one of their bench Pokemon for 3. So, overall, this one does the most damage. It doesn't have the best effect on the attack, but damage is damage, and that extra 10 could actually help you out pretty well. But really, we're playing it for the first attack, Psybolt, for 1 energy to make this deck even more consistent. Next up, we have Dodrio, a 1/1 line. This is one of my favorite Pokemon that never got any love. Retreat Aid Dodrio. As long as this Pokemon is on your bench, your active Pokemon's retreat cost is 2 less. And everything in this deck either has a 2 or less retreat cost, effectively giving our Pokemon free retreat. Now, if this is in the active spot, you're going to have to dedicate an energy to retreat it, but it only costs 1 energy to retreat this guy, so it's not that big of a deal. We're actually going to be playing this copy of Doduo because Doduo Delivery could actually help you out in a pinch. It lets you draw 2 cards for a double colorless. So if you lead off with this and you really need something, you bench a Pokemon, you attach the double colorless, draw 2 cards. It might get knocked out on the next turn, but at least you're going to be able to hopefully draw into some more useful cards. And last but not least, we're playing 1 copy of the Revenge Bouffalent just as a backup attacker that can maybe do something cool. So if any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from your opponent's attacks during the last turn, this attack will do 70 more. So it does 90 if your Pokemon were knocked out previously, and that actually is a little bit more damage than Powerful Friends. And with the Muscle Band there, you will be able to hit for 110, which is definitely better numbers than 100. So there is some pretty useful stuff here. And I guess if you really need to, you can attach another double colorless and try and do head charge, though I wouldn't recommend it. Well, that's the Pokemon lineup. There's a pretty hefty amount in there, but it's not like it's going to clunk up because of the adapted evolution ability, so that's really nice. We're going to be playing a copy of Field Blower just to try and get rid of our opponent's shenanigans. We don't have any sort of stadium in this deck, so being able to remove our opponents might be very useful. We're playing 3 copy of Level Ball because this actually searches out a pretty fair amount of Pokemon in the deck, and it definitely helps you get that Doduo into play for Dodrio, but also it grabs you the Caterpie Metapod pieces, so that's always nice, and you're probably always going to have one of those pieces in your hand. Playing a copy of Super Rod because sometimes we want to put Pokemon back into our deck, so that's where Rescue Stretcher is really good, but sometimes we also want some of that energy because we're running low, and it's really good for maybe grabbing that 1 grass energy you might need. Playing 4 copies of Trainer's Mail because I think as a whole it would cost you about $2 to actually get a playset of these. And this will allow you to look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal any trainer card you might find there, so maybe that gets you the Ultra Ball or the Level Ball for the rest of the Caterpie line. We'll also be playing 4 Ultra Ball, same thing here. 4 should cost you about $2. But you should have these anyways because this is the most playable Pokeball card in the game, and you're gonna need this no matter what format you're in. We have 4 copies of VS Seeker, though this is going to be an expanded exclusive for these videos. Very, very good for a lot of things. It means we don't have to necessarily run a high amount of these supporters, so we can keep Lysandre at 2, Colress at 1, we'll be able to reuse them, and not really have to worry too much about things. We're playing 1 copy of Brigette, so this will allow you to search your deck for 1 basic EX Pokemon or 3 basic Pokemon in general, and, well, our Pokemon in this deck are pretty basic. Other than the, couple of evolutions, it grabs us Bouffalent, Doduo, Miltank, Caterpie. It's pretty useful. If we can get that turn 1, it's going to be great, and sometimes even in the middle game, it could be useful. Copy of Colress. This is one of the most powerful, seriously, the most powerful supporter cards in the expanded format. Very dangerous though, because sometimes you can draw way too many cards, but ideally, if you're both bench to 5 Pokemon, you're going to be drawing 10 cards, and that is a lot of the time better than playing an N or playing a Sycamore. So yeah, this is probably the most expensive card on its own in the deck, costing you about $1, but you're only playing 1 of them to begin with, so that's nice. Playing 2 copy of Lysandre. So you might be wondering why there's no Guzma. Guzma is really useful and good. But Guzma has only had 1 printing so far in Standard, which means it's going to cost you about $4 for Guzma. And I was trying to keep this as budget friendly as possible. And Guzma might not even necessarily be something you really need, especially with Free Retreat with Dodrio. Playing 4 copy of N, same thing here. This should cost you about $2 for a playset of N, which is really nuts. because years ago these were like 5 apiece. But yeah, N is a very, very strong card, and honestly, it might be the best supporter ever printed, allowing you to really just turn around games with the fact that you draw how many prize cards you have, and if your opponent only has 1 and you have them in a bad spot, that could just be the end for your opponent. 3 copy of Juniper. So Professor Juniper and N used to go hand in hand, 4 of in a deck. But we don't really necessarily need that with VS Seeker, and we have Colress and other options available to us, and we have Trainer's Mail, and the deck should kind of fix itself by itself. But you know, sometimes you just need to dump your hand, draw a fresh new 7, and just get what you need. So Juniper is a great way to do that. Playing 4 copies of Muscle Band because, well, this is expanded, and you don't necessarily need Choice Band. Choice Band is another option that you could possibly add. I don't think Choice Bands are actually too expensive, but I went with the Muscle Band just because this will hit anything for an extra 20, and sometimes the extra 20 on anything is better than 30 on an EX or GX. Playing 4 copies of Double Colorless because it's probably the most important energy in the deck. Not necessarily because we're going to be wanting to use just Powerful Friends, but sometimes you're not going to be able to have stage 2 on your deck, so you're going to want it to attach the Double Colorless so you can do Hammer In. Or maybe you're trying to get that 1-turn revenge going, and sometimes you're going to have to use Whirlwind, so Double Colorless really does come in handy. And of course, we're playing 6 copies of Grass. It's a lower amount, but a higher amount for really this deck in general, because you don't necessarily need too much, but it kind of rounds out the deck and makes it more consistent. You should have an energy every turn, and you should definitely be attacking every turn. And with all of that being said, why not let's go try out this deck? So we're actually going to be playing on an older account that I have that I don't have a standard. Oh no, did I break it? Oh no. Oh, okay. It went away. Sorry, I had a glitch one time on TCGO where I accidentally hit something and it just wouldn't let me do anything. So let's go ahead and play Miltank and see how this does. So I want to point out that this is an older account that I also have, because I'm not super high up on the ladder, but I'm not low enough where it's going to be extremely easy games. However, because this is a beginner deck and I want to showcase it off against beginner level people, these people might have EXs and stuff like that, and that will be fine, but we're not at the bottom of the barrel. Don't think I'm playing against complete noobs. We're somewhere in the middle, and that should be good enough. So our opponent might take a while to pick here because, you know, that's how TCGO goes, but we have a double Caterpie lead, which isn't the worst thing in the world. Remember that we can definitely go ahead and get that turn 1 Butterfree and actually attach the energy. So once we draw a card here, we can Ultra Ball, VS Seeker, and whatever we draw. So unfortunately, don't really want to get rid of a Miltank, and that's not great. It looks like we're going against a Sylveon Xerneas deck, so this is Fairy. But what I can actually do here is go ahead and Ultra Ball. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Miltank. I want to get the energy onto the Butterfree this turn, actually. It might be more useful for me that way. So I'm going to go ahead and grab Metapod so we can evolve that active Butterfree, or Caterpie into Butterfree as soon as possible. We're going to attach that energy just so that way we can free retreat it on the next turn, or go ahead and use Cybolt, and we're going to end. So unfortunately, we're going to give our opponent a stronger opening hand, but it really doesn't matter all too much because, I mean, look at our setup here. We've already got 2 Butterfree into play on turn 1 of the game with a Miltank on the bench. Miltank doesn't have the energy, but the Butterfree in the active does, and that's relatively pretty good. So what I think might actually be an appropriate play here is maybe going ahead and using Whirlwind to actually pull up Sylveon. Unless they have a lot of energy coming into play here. So we're going to see a Fire Energy come down. Okay, that's a new one. They're playing a Volcarona in the deck, and we're going to see Team Flare Gun come down. So this is a very, very good expanded supporter. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And we're going to see Geomancy for 2 Fairy Energy to the bench Pokemon. So You just need one more energy on the Sylveon to do Precious Ribbon, move Fairy Energy from this Pokemon to one of your bench Pokemon. Not the strongest attack, not the worst attack though. Colress isn't super useful here. We're actually just going to Juniper the hand away and hopefully get some stuff going. So why don't we go ahead and level ball and grab that Doduo so we can get some of that free retreat going on for us. And other than that, we'll definitely put another Miltank on the bench. Miltank is very, very useful. And we will attach to Butterfree. We have plenty of Muscle Band to go around in this deck, so I don't feel bad about attaching this to Butterfree to do 50 damage instead of 30 to this. Sorry. With math adding up, that will allow us 2 powerful friends exactly for a knockout if we really need to. So hopefully next turn, just go ahead and Dodrio, free retreat, go into Miltank, get a knockout. We're actually going to see a Charizard EX come down to the bench. This is one of the strongest cards you might have to deal with for a beginner. Really, it's pretty insanely strong, so it's a little unfortunate. But we can actually do quite a bit here. So, Xerneas does have double colorless retreat cost. So one of the things that we can actually go ahead and do here is we can Lysandre up this Charizard. This is the card I'm fearing the most out of this matchup. And I'm not afraid of getting knocked out by any of these Pokemon. So I'm actually going to go ahead and Whirlwind here because it will put the Charizard back to the bench with 100 damage on it. Even if it does attach literally another energy, it can't one-shot me without a Muscle Band on anyways. So that's always nice. And our opponent's going to take about 5 years to put up a new Pokemon. You can usually tell when you're playing against a newer player too because they have exactly like this character avatar. So that's always a fun indication of a fun game. But as you can see here, our opponent, though they're mixing cards in the deck, they have some sort of structure with Geomancy and attaching energy and getting things into play. So yeah, he just needs one more fire energy for that Charizard now. So let's go ahead and actually attach the double colors to Miltank and Juniper this hand, not to give our opponent a new hand. They didn't play too much. That's definitely a very important thing you have to note. They did not play too much on that turn. We have the free retreat with Dodrio, and we will easily be able to free retreat, go out to our Miltank at this point, and just hit for that 80 damage that we need to get a knockout on this Xerneas. Miltank is much more of an expendable card right now than maybe my Butterfree. With, you know, hitting for 100 damage with all that energy on it. So yeah, that's usually probably a situation you're probably going to want to be in. But yeah, now we got to deal with this fresh 100% healthy Sylveon that we can not at all in any way knock out. So that's a little unfortunate for us, but it doesn't seem like our opponent has too much going on for them. They're able to play a rescue, it's been a while, energy retrieval, and attach a 4th energy to Sylveon. Okay, I guess because they have to move the energy, that is actually kind of a useful play. But I don't necessarily know what they even want to attach that to, and Charizard can't even use that. Oh, well, they heal. Oh, I didn't know they heal damage. Okay, so that's actually pretty solid play on our opponent's part. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a Butterfree, and with free retreat, we can, you know, kind of deal with things accordingly here. We will attach the grass energy to Miltank. And I don't really think we necessarily have to play too much here. We could VS Seeker for Colress for the next turn, which might not be the worst idea. We have one VS Seeker in the discard pile. We could also VS Seeker Lysandre. Unfortunately, now we can't one-shot the Charizard. But I don't know. I'm not entirely sure. Let's VS Seeker. Let's do the Colress play. Give us a wider variety of cards in our hand. Maybe be able to get another Butterfree into play. Or Bouffalent. Or another Miltank. Not the worst thing in the world to have. I'm going to be cautious about putting down the extra Muscle Band just yet. In case they have something like a Megaphone, we don't want to lose all our tools. But I think I am actually just going to go ahead and keep Butterfree active because I can't really get knocked out by anything at the moment. So let's go ahead and Whirlwind for 100 damage. They might put up the Charizard, or they might put up Larvesta if they can retreat it for 1 energy. No, they can't. Yeah, so Charizard comes up to the active. Definitely something I want to hit this turn to do extra damage to. But with that Sylveon there, you know, it might be a very annoying thing. So we're actually going to see the Volcarona. So this one is Solar Birth. Search your deck for 2 basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then search your deck for 2 basic energy cards attached to that Pokemon. So they have some structure there. They can grab the Charizard with that attack and put the Fire Energy on it, which is probably something that they want to do. And we're going to see Professor Birch for 4 here. Birch is definitely one of those cards you don't want to play if you can avoid playing it, because the 50-50 chance there is just way too bad. In Expanded, you have Colress anyways. You have a lot better options, so of course that is always the better option here. And we're going to see him hit me for 120. Cannot hit me for the knockout. But we will attach the energy to Miltank for this turn. And I mean, honestly, what do we really need to do here? Why don't we just Super Rod and grab back the 2 Miltank and the Grass Energy? Seems pretty reasonable to me. The more Miltank for the future. I will go ahead and Trainer's Mail just... Oh, we hit 3 Trainer's Mail, the only card we cannot grab. So that's funny. But I want to see maybe if we could grab something for the following turn. But why don't we go ahead and... We're actually going to sacrifice the Butterfree here. We're going to pull up that Sylveon and get a knockout on it, because not only is it going to give us 2 prize cards, but I think we're fine for the next turn. He's probably going to want to attack with Charizard again anyways, unless he goes with the Oricorio, which he might not even have the energy to do. And I mean, we're going to get 2 cards here. We're going to draw for our turn. It's very unlikely that we don't get anything useful out of 3 cards. And one of the biggest threats of him healing up his Pokemon is gone. So let's go ahead and grab these bottom 2. We get an Ultra Ball and an N. So, and it's not the best supporter for us to have at the moment. It's going to hurt us and help our opponent. But the Ultra Ball is nice. So at least we can grab something. And we're actually going to see a Pokemon Center Lady come down. So that Charizard has been healed 100% and is now going to be able to use Combustion Blast appropriately to kind of one-hit knock out my guys. But we have the clean 2-shot on it as long as we don't have to deal with any more healing. And that's one of those factors in these older decks that you have to really worry about. So, we haven't seen too many other supporters come into play, so I'm going to leave their hand for now. I don't really want to mess with it. I could Ultra Ball, but I think we're honestly fine this turn, just leaving our hand the way it is. And we're actually going to go with Powerful Friends for 100 damage. Okay. I didn't attach the energy to the Butterfree, if anybody's curious, because we don't really want to be attacking with Butterfree. We want to be attacking with Miltank as much as possible. If we attach to Butterfree, it's usually for some kind of, oh, hey, we really need this right now. Stalling. So we're actually going to see him via Seeker for the Pokemon Center Lady. That's definitely a good play on his part, because now he's going to be very annoying, heal off most of the damage we did, and he can actually one-shot us here if he wants to use Combustion Blast. But the thing is, if he uses Combustion Blast, he won't be able to attack on the following turn. So though he will be able to take a knockout, he really won't be able to do too much. And unfortunately for him, Volcarona just doesn't hit the numbers either. So that's perfectly fine with me. And on this turn, I can just grab another Miltank, fully set it up on my bench. So let's go ahead and do this. Ending our opponent at this point might be the correct play. So let's go ahead and Ultra Ball. Get rid of these cards right here. We're going to go ahead, again, grab that Miltank. We're going to load up everything else in our hand to that Miltank and then end our opponent down to 3. It's a lower hand size, and he won't have 5 going into his turn, so that's always a nice thing there. I messed up my energy attachment, but thankfully enough, not the energy, my tool attachment, but thankfully enough with free retreat, we can easily fix that, and I'm going to end. And Field Blower not too useful here at all. I'm a little worried about benching that Caterpie for now, so we're going to avoid it until I have just a Metapod to evolve into, but we can't evolve into Butterfree anyways, so maybe I'll just avoid that. But let's go ahead and use Powerful Friends for another 100 damage. Now, if he heals, that'd be pretty bad, but he'll go down to where we have to do exactly 100 damage. And we're going to see a Pokemon Center Lady a third turn in a row, so that is just the worst. And now we have to do that exact 100 damage, but he can't knock us out this turn. He 100% can't knock us out, and he has to retreat this or we're knocking him out. So, a nice top deck would either be the VS Secret or Lysandre at this point in time, so that way we can just pull up the Charizard if he decides to retreat it. If he does decide to retreat it, though, he is going to be losing probably 2 of those Fairy Energies, and I have to assume he might be running low on energy at this point in time. So, might not be the ideal situation for him. I'm not sure how many energy he plays in his deck. He has a weird amount, obviously, because he's playing 2 different ones, but he is opting to retreat to the bench, and Volcarona is also a card I can get a one-hit knockout on. So, great thing here is he can't knock me out. I can go ahead and retreat this Miltank, and I don't have to give up my... Well, we'd have to have the Choice Band on to knock him out, so... I don't know, we're in a weird situation, but yeah, we really want that top deck Lysandre VS Seeker here. So we're actually going to get a double Colorless instead, which is not super great. However, we can attach the double Colorless to something. I'm going to drop down a Miltank to the bench. And I'm not sure if I want to attach the double Colorless to Miltank or if I want to attach the double Colorless to Butterfree. Because obviously Butterfree would like it a lot more. How much grass energy do we have left in the deck? So we have 2 in the discard pile and 2 attached, so we have 2 more left somewhere. We also have 2 more after this double Colorless, so 1 more after this. So let's go ahead and attach it to Butterfree just on the off chance that we actually want to try and paralyze something. Ooh. But yeah, we're in a not so fun place, honestly, at the moment. He's got 1 retreat cost, so we can easily retreat this. So I think on the off chance he does not have Lysandre, let's go ahead and retreat and use the Powerful Friends on the bench, so that way we can keep that 100 damage for that knockout. He's got a really low hand size, so the odds are very against him for being able to use Pokemon Center Lady again. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because, and I know this sounds really funny, but yeah, just Charizard can be one of the most intimidating Pokemon to go against with a deck that doesn't hit exactly high numbers to knock it out. And something like random cards like Healing or Energy Denial could really seriously mess with us. So he's going to actually grab Blaziken with Volcarona's attack here and attach 2 Fire Energy to it. So that's not a bad play. However, I'm just waiting for that that beautiful Lysandre top deck. We're gonna get a knockout here, so go ahead and grab a prize for the VS Seeker. Very nice, as long as we get to keep in play our Miltank with the Choice Band. We win next turn, unless our opponent wants to end us or do something crazy. But we got grabbed our last VS Seeker, which I had to assume was prized at that point. We're going to see a Max Elixir come down, so that's an interesting one to see this late in the game. And power to him, he hit the other energy. So what does Oricorio do again? Search your deck for 3 basic fire Pokemon, put them onto your bench, discard an energy to this Pokemon, and if you do, discard... Oh, we're going to see a Kiawit. Discard what? An energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Okay, so that's kind of useful, but yeah, we have game at this point. We have the Muscle Band in hand too at this point, so let's go ahead and make sure he's got 80 damage. Pull up that Charizard, attach that Muscle Band, and let's hit for 100 damage and game. And as you can see, we have some problems with the deck. If we're running low on cards, but yeah, the deck works. It's fine. As you can see there, even though we had a weakness with Butterfree, we came out on top. There's a lot of weird and cool interactions with this deck, and let's get one more game just to really showcase this deck off even more. Hopefully we can go against something that doesn't scare me or intimidate me as much as Charizard does. And it looks like we're playing against... I don't know what deck would be in those typings. So we're going to go with heads. And we won. So of course we will go first because we want to go first. It gives us an extra energy attachment, right? Over our opponent. And we're actually going to lead off with Miltank, which is our actual Pokemon we want to lead off with. So that's pretty nice. Our hand is a little awkward. We don't necessarily want to Juniper any of these resources, but the trainer mail in our hand is also very nice. So we will now see what we are going to be playing up against, and it's a Zoroark Eevee deck. Okay, so first things first, let's go ahead and just attach to these. And we will Trainer's Mail, hopefully finding an N, and we don't. So we're not going to grab anything because we 100% have to Juniper here. There's no way around that. We need to try and get that Butterfree or more Pokemon out of the bench as soon as possible. And, you know, I think we did it. So we'll even put Bouffalent on the bench just to showcase that. We don't really want to use Super Rod now, and we have N in our hand anyways, so our turn's pretty much over. It does kind of stink that we didn't hit a level ball or a Metapod or anything. I don't even remember. We saw one level ball in that last game, which is kind of funny to me, but... So he's going to evolve into Jolteon. Jolteon is actually a very, very scary GX. And I'm a little worried about this one. So we're going to see a switch and an electric energy. However, Jolteon is for retreat, so if you play a switch here, it'll be a little weird. We're going to see a nest ball. Maybe grabbing another Eevee or Doduo. Eevee being one of the only Pokemon that can really evolve turn 1. And we're actually going to see a Pikachu Zekrom come down. So this is really intimidating right off the bat. It really is. But he has a lot of crazy stuff going on in the deck, so maybe we'll be fine. But yeah, he's going to hit us really, really hard, and we're going to want to evolve that Caterpie up at ASAP, seriously. So let's go ahead and end. There might be something to be said about Junipering there, so that way we can guarantee stuff. But hey, we got everything we need to do 100 damage this turn, so it's A-okay, we're fine. Gonna make sure we grab the Metapod. That's what we need here. We need to stop him from sniping Caterpie for a knockout, while also just trying our hardest here. So we have to be very, very cautious about this Jolteon because its GX attack will actually prevent us from doing damage to it on the next turn, as well as actually probably knocking out a very large majority of our team with one hit. So that's scary. That's very scary. But as of right now, it has 100 HP remaining, and that's a nice 2 prizes for us if we can get Muscle Band and an Energy next turn. If he doesn't, go ahead and use the GX attack. And he's going to Headbolt, not using the GX attack, so that is extremely nice for us. That is essentially just guaranteeing me the knockout here, which is nice. We're going to go with the Miltank over the Bouffalent because I think it's more likely for us to really utilize Miltank here over Bouffalent, and we have an N, but I don't necessarily know if we played or not. Our opponent didn't have too much in their hand, and I don't really want to give them too much. So I might actually go ahead and Super Rod right here and just go with the Sycamore. I know it might not seem the best because we're going to get rid of a VS Seeker, and that could be very useful later, but I don't really see much use for the other cards, and this gives me the best chance. Unfortunately, we whiffed. So that kind of stinks. A lot, actually. But there's not... We didn't even hit a double colorless, so it's not like Bouffalent could have done more. So, yeah, you know, that's the odds when you play cards. So, It's as unfortunate as it is. That is what happens when you play Pokemon. So, well, powerful friends for 80. It's got like no HP left, but what can we do about that, really? And I guess the one thing to be said here is at least he's not applying energy to Pikarom. So we're actually going to see a Tapu Koko come down, and Tapu Koko's scary because now it's a fresh Pokemon to hit us for a knockout and has no damage on it. So that kind of stinks a little bit. We're going to see a switch and an electric energy once more. Switch is probably good for pretty much everything that isn't Jolteon in his deck. So pretty good structure there, I would say. And this is definitely one of those just not so good situations. We could have been at a better standpoint right now. We could have removed all that energy and gotten a knockout, 2 prizes. He would have had to done something else than this. But again, that's what happens when you play card games. So as unfortunate it is, we're going to have to deal with it for now. So let's go ahead and attach the Butterfree. We're going to try and stall here, and we're actually going to go ahead and end because our opponent needs a lower hand size, in my personal opinion. So let's go ahead and give him that lower hand size. But we really are 100% relying here solely on the paralysis. We really need it. Don't have a switch in your hand, and we didn't get the paralysis. It stinks. It does. It really does. But at the very least, I can say that we'll easily be able to get another Butterfree in play. And I don't know. We just got to kind of go with it. So unfortunately, Bouffalent also has 100 HP. He's now a little bit tankier, which I would really hope for him to be, but he hits for 90. We have 3 choice bands left. We could attach them to him to hit for 110, but we might actually just want that for the Miltank, so I'm going to go ahead and put it on the Miltank, and I'm going to evolve up into this Metapod just for the off chance that we can get 2 Butterfree in play to keep myself a little bit safer. We can Colress here for quite a bit of cards. We're going to get 8 cards here, which is a very hefty number, and that's perfect. And hey, we're going to see Trader's Mail finally. Awesome. So maybe we can get Dodrio into play. I don't really think it'll be too important in this matchup, but it could be nice. So let's go ahead and see what we can grab. We're definitely going to grab the Muscle Band because I would like all that extra damage. So I'm still debating on whether or not I want to hit him for 110. That'll bring him to 140. Either way, it'll be a knockout. But if he does play something like Pokemon Center Lady, if we hit him for 90, he goes 120, which heals 60 would be just pretty bad for us. It would be right out of knockout range. So on the off chance, I know it's very unlikely, on the off chance though that he does, this will allow us to still get a one-hit knockout on the Koko. Because he would heal 60, go down to 80. 100 damage is going to bring him to 180. So, though I don't really like attaching my Muscle Band here, it's definitely kind of a necessity. So, yeah. It's unfortunate, though, that Koko literally hits the numbers for our entire deck. It's pretty bonkers. But the one thing I can honestly say is, thankfully enough, he has not really been attaching to this Zekrom Pikachu, because you can get a whopping 2-hit KO on us with his GX attack, and that would be very scary. But we have not even seen a Zoroark come into play yet. And of course, he is starting to now attach to that Pikarom, which is not something I really want to see at all. He's going to get a knockout, but he's going to need another 2 energy, and unfortunately for him, he's pretty much losing all energy in play. But he might have a Koko Prism, which we might have to definitely worry about at that point. So start getting cards for our next turn, something useful. Via Seeker is a nice option just in case we need to do something. And we already attached our energy, so let's go ahead and finally get a knockout, like turn 8 into the game. And we're down pretty low. We are down really, really low. Maybe I actually should have gone and end him there. That probably would have been a smart play. But, yeah, I wanted the Lysandre in hand for the next turn to knock out the Jolteon. That's 100% what I really, really wanted. So, yeah. And hey, he's playing Lele. So he's going to be grabbing a supporter. And what is he going to be doing with this Zekrom? 150 damage, search your deck for 3 electric energy, attach it to your Pokemon, and shuffle your deck. And then, of course, to be able to tag Bolt us for a double knockout, but if he knocks out 2 of them anyways, then that's that. It's just very, very scary to see, obviously. So, of course, now we're going to be ending him 100%. Or do we? What would be the correct play? Jolteon is free retreat, so even like doing something with that would be like, oh, free retreat into this. We're going to have to take multiple knockouts too, and we're not getting a 2-hit knockout on Pikarom, which is, I mean, it's sad to say, but it's never happening. So if we could paralyze it, that would be a great option. It really would. But I'm trying to see... I think ending is just 100% the way to go. But he probably has a lot of energy left in the deck regardless. But we need to attach an energy. I'm going to attach it to Butterfree, because we can always attach double Colorless to Miltank. It's fine. Let's try and thin our deck out just a little bit. And I will go ahead and grab Caterpie, because I can't really grab anything else and feel too good about it. So we'll just grab the Caterpie. We'll leave it in our hand. I think we get... No. I think we end. So it's VS Seeker N. And our opponent down very low. And we'll get a knockout. We'll go down to 3 prizes. We'll have 5 cards. What? I hit the wrong button. We'll go down to 3 prizes, but we'll have 5 or 6 cards that are opening next hand. We'll put Miltank down, because it's the heart and soul of this deck. And I guess we'll just Powerful Friends for the knockout. Very just terrible predicament to be in. If we could have gotten those knockouts earlier in the game, life would have been great. But sometimes that just doesn't happen. And the way he puts that up, I'm assuming he's got the energy. So that's kind of a bummer. We have energy in our own hand, but he has the Cynthia. Okay. I see how it goes. See how it is, game. Try my hardest, and you rip out my heart. So I have to imagine he's attaching energy here. It'd be hilarious if he whiffed, though. It'd be very, very hilarious. Again, we have not seen a Zoroark come into play, so that's really, really funny. So we're going to see a Nest Ball, maybe for a Cocoa Prism. I don't know what else he'd be grabbing. Maybe another Pikarom. He's taking his time here. He must be looking at his deck to see what he's got and see how he could possibly have whiffed it. Unfortunately for him, grabbing Cocoa won't activate the ability. So if you're even trying to do anything with that was just a terrible misplay. So here's the thing. We want to Lysandre this up and knock it out. And then we want to do that with Zorua next turn, obviously. But if he evolves it, then we lose our win condition. So as much as I really don't want to pull up the Zorua, I really don't. We kind of have to leave that, because that's still knockoutable. So let's go ahead and I want to try and thin out the deck as much as possible to maybe try and appropriately get something for the next turn. So let's attach to Butterfree, and I think we're just gonna Ultra Ball those two to just grab something out of our deck, so we have a better chance of drawing either Lysandre or VS Seeker. And we're gonna take the knockout. So here we go. Maybe we can grab a Muscle Band here. That'd be nice. Trainer's Mail is right now maybe the most important card we could have grabbed. So we still can win this one. That's insane to think about, that we can still win this one. And And we're going to see a Lele come down. He's thinning out his deck a little bit. He's obviously trying to make sure he hits that electric energy. So our end play earlier actually turned out to be very well, because even though he Cynthia'd, he never got another energy into play. He never even effectively got to use Tapu Koko. And he had to go ahead and grab Volkner to just guarantee the actual pulling of an electric energy here. So super good for us. Super insanely good for us. Which is great. It really is great. But we have to get lucky here, or we just lose. And there's no way around that whatsoever at all. If we whiff VS Seeker or Lysandre, we do not win this game. Oh my god, it was the top deck. It was the top deck. My heart's pounding. We managed to pull it off. We managed to beat a GX tag team HP level GX deck with Butterfree Miltank. We have done it. I am the greatest of all time. And that just goes to show you, it really does, that yes, this deck can't do 240 damage in 2 turns. Well, it could with Bouffalent. You have to be really lucky though. But yeah, I did not think, I 100% did not think we were going to win that game. 100% did not think we would ever win that game, but we did. So it really does go to show you how this deck can function and is actually still playable. And I went to the wrong thing. I went to go to deck manager to show off the deck again. But yeah, that is Butterfree Miltank on a budget. $16.99 to build this deck. Have already won 2 games. The first game, I can definitely hear you say, well, that's just a newer player playing. That second game, though, he had Leles, he had Jolteons, he had, obviously, Zoroark GX in that deck, and he had Pikarom. There's nothing you can say about that one. We still managed to pull off the victory, and I am at a loss for words right now. I'm so excited that we beat a Pikarom Jolteon GX deck with Butterfree Miltank. Alright, so that's going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed this series, stick around for more. I'm definitely going to be uploading more of these, because honestly, this is where I have fun with the game. I love building old, just budget-friendly decks and being able to pull off amazing wins like that. So yeah, stick around for more. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, comment, or subscribe on the channel, and I'll see you all later.